It's been almost exactly 2 years, and finally, the pandemic is dissipating. We made our choices, we learned our lessons, and it's a new dawn. And it's a new season for the year 2022, and a new time for all of us to embrace new life, new opportunities, new abundance. And while we balance our care and genuine prayer for peace and the awareness of a world that still includes unthinkable tragedy and sorrow and even war, we also are grateful for how blessed we are. And so let us use this spring of 2022 to take everything that we've learned, clear the past, and move forward in gratitude for the freedom that we have, for the blessings of our lives, for the opportunity to come together again in community, online, and yes, in person. We are all part of the awakening world, and we all have the roles that we're playing as individuals and collectively. We are the imaginal cells finding each other to create a beautiful, incredible butterfly out of the old paradigm. So welcome to spring of 2022. Welcome to the awakening world.
We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, stronger than ever, not divided. We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, hear the call, you are invited. We come from the same source, a powerful love force.
Good evening, everybody. Love Coach Scott Thomas here, and welcome to the Awakening World. And this, of course, is our early Zoom Room show. It's great to have all of you with us. And I want to pretty quickly turn it over to Jennifer Cahill. She is my incredible collaborative partner and colleague this weekend. She's done a really amazing job. And you're going to meet some people that are part of a very exciting vision. It's very much of an awakening world vision. So Jennifer, welcome. Tell us a little bit about what the Unitive Narrative is all about, and then you can introduce your guests who are going to be part of our early Zoom Room show.
Yes, thank you, Scott, and thank you to each of you out there. It's such a pleasure to be with everyone. I had never heard of a term called a unitive narrative. Many of you probably haven't either. It was only recently birthed in the last several months out of the minds of several evolutionary leaders. The Evolutionary Leaders is a group that was begun by Deepak Chopra and Barbara Marx Hubbard around 2008, with leaders from around the world, pioneers, thought leaders, scientists, media personalities, and I'm so grateful to be able to introduce you to a couple of these evolutionary leaders. In fact, Scott, who is my lovely co-host, is also an evolutionary leader as well. And the Unitive Narrative, the come from, was originally written for the 2030 Sustainability Development Goals for the United Nations. And I was privileged to get to be on an evolutionary leader call a couple of months ago. And when Jude Currivan, who has now become a dear friend, and we'll get to hear from her in a little bit as we open the show, when I heard her say the word unitive narrative, my spidey sense went up and went ding, 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 ding. And it said, I don't know why or how, but I messaged Jude and I said, I want to be of service to this. And through that, I got to know Jude Currivan and one of my dear friends now, Adam Hall, who's with us today as well. Teresa Collins, who of course is a dear, dear friend and phenomenal, amazing co-founder of the Global Coherence Pulse and Islands of Coherence. And another incredible evolutionary leader as well, Julie Kroll, who is the creator of the Dr. Julie show, The Good of the Whole. We just have so many beautiful souls, and we all came together in the last several months and realized, what if we had a paradigm shift? What if this unitive narrative wasn't just something written for the 2030 United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, but what if, as humanity, we began to see the world through a lens of unity consciousness, through a lens of cooperation? And in Jude's latest book that's coming out later this year, it's already on the bestseller list in the pre-sale category, called The Story of Gaia. She explores all of this and so much more, also on the basis of her original book, The Cosmological Hologram, and talking about, what if we evolved to cooperate instead of to compete? How would that shift the models that we come from as humanity? So, Scott, I'd love it if you could bring my dear friends onto the screen: Teresa Collins, Julie Krull, and Adam Hall. Again, beautiful soul people here who are with us. And I thought it would be a lot of fun if we could start. Thank you all for being here. It's Teresa. I can't see her, but there's her beautiful face. I love you all. You guys are all such special people to me. And I wanted to start, maybe Julie, let's have you say a few words about kind of how you got involved and why the unitive narrative matters to you, why you wanted to get involved in the project. And we'll have Adam go last because he's actually one of the people who co-wrote the unitive narrative.
Thank you, Adam, for co-writing the Unitive Narrative. And thank you. Wow. Why not like you, right? When you said that, I could just feel that, Jennifer, like, yes, of course. This is the medicine for our soul. This is the time on the planet. And right now, I was reflecting earlier today on how many different narratives that have been evolving and revolving and recycling and retelling throughout the last decade and the last few years, some based on truth and some perhaps on some not so much truth. And our worldview comes from this belief that creates this narrative, that creates this worldview, and that worldview creates our reality. And so when the evolutionary leaders came together to create the Unitive Narrative, it's just an exciting opportunity for all of us to really come home to the truth of what we're learning, not only from the ancient spiritual wisdom that's been around for centuries, thousands of years, actually, and now the new science is catching up and showing us that we're all a part of this interconnected, interrelated, and interbeing kind of planetary experience, one planetary organism, living whole system. So it's exciting to bring words and to bring the inspiration for us to begin telling that story again, and hopefully coming home to the collective soul, as we're going to talk about here tonight.
Thank you, Julie. You are definitely one of my soul sisters as well. And we're all soul brothers and sisters. That's the point. It's so funny. I say you or you, but in truth, we are all one another's soul sisters and brothers. And the more that we see ourselves in Julie, in Scott, in Nancy, in Jeff, in whomever might be there, how might the world shift if we released and let go of that old separation paradigm, that old silo paradigm, which is a perfect transition to our dear friend, Teresa Collins, who literally epitomizes what unity consciousness is in all of her projects, ranging from the Islands of Coherence to the Global Coherence Pulse. Teresa, thank you, my friend, for being the embodiment of what unity consciousness is.
Thank you, Jennifer. You always bring such a beautiful crowd together. I'm so excited. I'm really happy that you and Scott got to do this, and I can just tell that it's been a joy for both of you, and that's so nice. And Julie, I love that. And yes, Unitive Narrative. For me, I've always been in service to some of the great storytellers of this particular current of conscious evolution, Barbara Marx Hubbard, and then Richard Rudd with the Gene Keys, and Nassim Haramein and Jim Garrison, right? And so for me, the stories that were part of this new understanding of myself and my place in the world, and that were based in science and also in natural systems. Those are the ones that have always turned me on, right? They're aligned with how the universe creates healthy living systems. They're aligned with what I'm feeling rising inside of me, even though I don't understand what they're saying in the science. I get what they're saying because I feel it. Those are the things that I think help us to keep returning our attention back inside to the place where we are life innovating in a moment of maximum crisis. And that if we trust that and we relax into it, and the science helps us and the stories help us so that we can do that, so we can come home and begin to partner with life to recreate this beautiful garden that we know is ours to cultivate. So that's why the new narrative. And also because I'm finding myself in meetings with Julie and Jude and things. And so I know as life innovates through me, that it's putting me into relationship with other parts of the body that I'm supposed to partner with, right? And so I'm saying yes to the things and the people that are part of my project, that the universe is saying, this one's for you, babe. So that's why I'm here.
So beautiful, Teresa. Thank you, my friend. And to everyone, it's our hearts. You feel drawn, your whole body starts to tingle when you start to know that we're living our purpose. That's what this weekend is all about, listening to our soul, not just our individual soul, but our collective soul, and empowering our purpose. Why were we put here? And that's why it's so important. I want to invite our next guest up, Adam Hall, successful entrepreneur, 27 plus years doing work in the capital world, and then bringing that now and his consciousness to the world. And Adam, you co-wrote this Unitive Narrative. You were part of the original imaginal cells that came together and birthed this idea. Could you share with us a little bit about how that became part of your heart and soul and led to where we're at now with it?
I'd be happy to, Jen. Thank you. And Scott, thank you for having me and everybody. It's my first time here with all of you, and I'm honored, and I'm very enlivened by our moment together. And the unitive journey to the unitive narrative has been quite an interesting one. And as I reflected on, coming to the roundtable that I was invited to with Jude and others to, well, the unitive narrative actually, it wrote us. We just happened to be able to hold ourselves in a field that was able to receive some of the deeper vibrations and frequencies. And I'll say a little bit more on that in a moment, but I want to just share with all of you that my journey to the unitive new narrative really began here right here on this land in October of 2018, when I hosted an event with Jude Curvin and the late beloved Barbara Marx Hubbard. And I'll never forget, after a very exciting afternoon and inspirational conversations and discussions and all the things that emerged from there, a young woman came up and she goes, my gosh, I've never been in such a group of people that are soul modeling all together, all at once, in one great moment. And it just lifted us so much, because Jude was there when that was mentioned, and Barbara spent so much time here. And one of her great dreams was always about the meeting place, the place where we can come together in the noosphere, the wholeness of our own mind, the greater higher place of our mind. And the invitation that we talked about so much together around this fire behind me to bring others to that place. And what could that look like? How could we bring technology? How could we bring our science that was now emerging, the new science? And ultimately, we're here all together today, I believe, in so many ways, to bring this forward to the world. And, my journey to being part of this wonderful circle that wrote the new narrative, but really received the new narrative, was an interesting one because initially I had a reluctance to come into the SDG thought circles. And I personally had enough with a lot of the talk and sustainability talk and all these other things that only seem to be more divisive in a world where the fragility of our hearts and our minds has never been so tested. And ultimately, I had a deep conversation with Jude as she was beginning to bring this circle together. And it became very clear to me that we could steward this narrative in a way that was transcendent of those old stories, where we could become the new storyteller, where this narrative could actually host all the narratives in one place. Of course, that one place is in our heart and in our soul, in our collective mind and collective genius. So I found myself in a place where I felt very much at home. And the Unitive New Narrative became something so much more than what was put on a piece of paper. It's come alive in its own way, and it's here to celebrate. And I'm so honored to be part of everything that Jen and Teresa and so many of us are doing in the EL community and all around the globe around this. So happy to be here. Look forward to talking a lot more about the narrative, but ultimately bringing it to life in story and song and dance, and most importantly, in laughter. So thank you for having me.
I love that, Adam. And Jeff feels it, as do everybody streaming. Jeff said, love your good energy, Adam. And I think that's what brings us all together is as we vibrate, we are all increasing our vibration. And it takes, a few of us just choosing to actively bring our conscious awareness, our conscious attention to how we live life. And we're not perfect. I want to be clear in all the calls that Adam and Bob Atkinson, who co-wrote this, and Kurt Johnson, and so many incredible evolutionary leaders in these calls, I think the trap that we fall into in the old models and the old paradigms around competition are, I have to get it perfect. And if I'm going to be unitive, then that's going to look a very particular way. And the invitation really, and this is our invitation for you if you want to participate in the birthing of this, it is not Adam's project or Jude's product or Julie or Teresa or Jen. It's actually our opportunity to engage as a soul community around the planet and to put our lens on what would unitive consciousness mean? What would that be like for you? How might economic systems change? How might education systems change? How might your friendships change and your relationship with yourself? And it's not about getting it right. It's not about being perfect. It's about evolving into the trueness and the oneness of the soul that brought us here to be birthed, as Jude says in her new book. So Scott, I know we're almost at the top of the hour here. Did you have any thoughts, my friend? This is kind of your introduction to the Unitive Narrative. So I'd love to hear from you on this.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. And as always, I do love the people that you bring on. And I really appreciated what everybody said, but what stood out for me especially was what Adam talked about how important it is for us to come together. And if we're going to call ourselves evolutionary leaders, that's a really big standard to live up to. And it means that we have to demonstrate being able to listen to everyone, regardless of how different their thoughts, their belief system might be, and to really come up with solutions that take into consideration many points of view. I want to show a couple of quick websites, and we've got 3 minutes left. Here is the Unitive Narrative, and I actually found it easiest under this link. So Debbie, maybe this is the link that Jennifer put out. This link is opening, whereas the other link wasn't opening so easily. So let's put that out for people. I'll also copy it and put it in the Zoom room, because I'm sure people are going to want to read a little bit about it. And I also thought maybe we might want to take a moment to talk about the Global Coherence Pulse Retreat. So Teresa, if I put the spotlight back on you, or have you join us, tell us a little bit about the Global Coherence Pulse Retreat, because a lot of our Zoom room people, I think, would be interested in that. And I'll also bring up the website as you talk about it.
Yeah, Scott, I was thinking in your opening video for this, you really kind of said it, right? It's spring 2022. And this is a moment really when the planet needs our collective individual coherence. And so the retreat was a way for us to kind of energize the Islands of Coherence Community Network, but also to say, what if we were to create a collective container together where we focused for 3 months on cultivating greater coherence in the heart of our daily life and through us into the world? What would occur for us? And so people that have come in, they're actually realizing this is not a regular course. This is a field. And it's a field of commitment to actually put this purpose first, your sustained coherence as the gift you give to life. And so, if you're interested, tomorrow, Monday, is the last day to sign up. We started at the beginning of the month. Our first fireside chat is happening on Monday. Julie Kroll is going to be there, Dot Maver, beautiful stuff. And there are scholarships if you can't afford to come, but if you feel inspired to be in a community of other people making that same commitment, then it's worth it. 3 months. And if you sign up with the link that Deborah's putting in the chat, then Global Peace Tribe actually gets a portion, 1/3 of the retreat fee, to support what they're doing. Because if we model things where we circulate the energy to support us all to have what we need to really go for it, then we're all going to be better off and we're seeding the future we want. So anyway, if you're interested, there's time. Otherwise, we're making a prototype, right? It's like a small prototype of a bigger initiative. Thanks.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you for putting that together. That's a huge project, which I certainly understand. And we're going to hear much more from Teresa and from Jennifer. And I'm going to get us ready to go live on Facebook. And thank you again. I love all of our early Zoom room people. And we've got a great show. We've got Ishkala and Ivy Hilton, along with these wonderful presenters. So it's going to be a really good show. Give me a minute to just get this show on the road, get everything ready.